يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وعند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها الباقر يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا عند الله اشفع لنا. يا أبا عبد الله يا جعفر بن محمد أيها الصادق يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيه لله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى أيها الرضا يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها التقي الجواد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن محمد أيها الهادي النقي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله. يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها الزكي العسكري يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي اشفع لنا عند الله. يا وصي الحسن والخلف الحجة أيها القائم المنتظر المهدي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. حاجات. تنقذوني من ذنوبي عند الله فإنكم وسيلتي إلى الله وبحبكم وبقربكم أرجو نجاة من الله فكونوا عند الله رجائي. يا سادتي يا أولياء الله صلى الله عليهم أجمعين ولعن الله أعداء الله ظالميهم من الأولين والآخرين آمين يا آمين رب العالمين.
खुशनूदी 14 मासूमिन बुलंद तरीन सलावा
अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद
सुनिए जनाब सैयदा सलामुल्लाह अलैहा बुलंद तरीन सलावत।
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على خاتم النبيين والسيد المرسلين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، لا سيما عن الإمام المنتظر، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم القرآن الحكيم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
पानी भी ले ला जल्दी कर रहे हैं ज़्यादा. Okay, we've reached last time to a point where we were discussing about the Shan and Nuzul. And we spoke and we had reached a stage whereby we had explained to you as to when this entire surah of Surah Al-Kahf was revealed. Very quickly, to link up to today's majlis, the three people from Quraysh go to the Yahud, ask them, we want to prove this man who's just come up in Hijaz as a prophet, we need to prove him wrong, and give me certain material by means of which we can test him. If he comes out wrong, then we know that he's a fraud. But for that, we need some information from you. So they go to the Yahud, and the Yahud says, we will tell you what needs to be done. And they gave him 4 questions. They gave these 3 individuals from Quraysh 4 questions. It says, ask him about the people who slept in the cave and the entire discussion about it. Who were they? How long they lived? Where were they? What circumstances existed? That is point number 1. Point number 2, who was that man whom Musa was asked to meet? Nabi Musa. What was the entire incident? What events took place? Point number 3. Ahsan, Jazakallah. Point number 3. Who was that person who went from Maghrib al-Shams, from the west, to Matla'aha, to the east, to build that barrier on Yajuj and Majuj? What is the entire history? What is the entire incident? And giving the questions, they also gave the answers, that these are the answers in our book. If this man is able to give you these answers, فَهُوَ صَادِقٌ فَصَدِّقُوهُ, accept his words. فَإِذَا he's not able to give it, فَكَذِّبُوهُ, and then you reject him because he's a fraud. And the 4th question was about ruh, about the soul. And then, the Prophet says, go, I'll give you the answer tomorrow. And that tomorrow did not come for 40 days. A massive imtihan for the Holy Prophet. A person who's claiming himself to be the Nabi of God. A person who's claiming himself to be the representative of God, who's so clearly telling them that I'm giving you the answer tomorrow, and the tomorrow becomes day after, and the day after becomes the day after, and it becomes 30 days and 40 days. The entire base of Islam and Tabligh had become mutazalzil. They were doubting. Those people who had faith, they're newly converted. They had not been there for years that their iman had become rasikh. All of them became mutazalzil. The Holy Prophet could not come out of his house. Every time he's on the musalla, Ya Allah, send Jibreel, send the answers. And the answers were not coming. 40 days is not a joke. 2 days, 3 days, you can understand. Somebody says, I am the prophet, I am the representative of Allamul Ghuyub. Ask me whatever you want, I will tell you. Because La yantiqu anil hawa, I don't speak except illa wahyun yuha. Where is the wahy? Tomorrow, day after, the day after, 40 days, no why. 40 days is not a joke. If it was 2 days, 3 days, it could be understood. 40 days, the Qawm of Hadrat Musa turned from God worshipper to calf worshipper. पूरी कौम जो है खुदा परस से गांव परस बन गई, गूसाला परस बन गई. 40 days is not a joke. But anyway, after 40 days, the entire Surah Kahf comes down. But before we go on to the starting of Surah Al-Kahf, the 4 questions that were asked. When the Surah Kahf was revealed, the first question was answered about the Ashab Kahf. The second question was answered about Hadrat Khidr and Hadrat Musa alayhim salam. The third question was answered about Hadrat Dhul-Qarnayn alayhi salam. The fourth question about the Ruh was not answered over here. It came down, but then it was sent into another surah, Surah Isra, which is Surah number 17, verse number 85. Before I go further, very quickly for your understanding, you know how the verses would come based on the events that will take place, the verses would come. Then the Prophet would tell them, Ya Zayd ibn Arqam, Ya Ali ibn Abi Talib, this verse that has been revealed, this is of Surah Iqra. Put it there. This verse is Surah Baqarah, verse number 255. This next verse that comes, this is Surah An'am, verse number 5. He would dictate to them, because events that would take place would necessitate the verses. It's not that it started with Alhamd and ended with one Nas. It started randomly based on the events that would take place, randomly for us. God knew exactly what was going to come down. But when the verses would come down, the Prophet would tell them, put this under Surah Baqarah. Put this under Surah Inna Anzalna. This is verse of Surah Qaf. This is the word of Surah Kahf. This is the verse of Surah Qiyamah. He would tell them. And in period of 23 years, as the verses kept coming, the entire Quran of 6,236 verses divided into 114 surahs became as a book in front of us. I've intentionally mentioned the amount, the ayat of the verses, the number of ayat. There's a major misconception in our community. आप किसी से पूछ लीजिएगा कितनी आयत है 6,666 6,666. It's wrong. It's not 6,666. It's you have to. And the third will be the Wiladat of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. So ye Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. तो जो हमारे पास वक्त है उसमें से 3 जो है वो जलसे और 3 मजलिस ऐसे ही चली गई. I would have wanted to start right from ayah number 1, because the entire event of Ashab Kahf in the Quran starts from ayah number 9 of Surah Al-Kahf. From ayah number 9 to ayah number 26. But the important thing is that ayah number 1 to 8 is a precursor to ayah number 9 and onwards. So ideally, the best option would be I start from 1, 2, 3, 4, and then link you to ayah number 9, and then we start the Ashab Kahf. Unfortunately, time does not permit, so I will not be able to start from 1 to 8. However, suffice to understand, 1 to 8 is a precursor. Allah is building up the momentum to take you to that answer that is there. Before I go to that ayah number 9, I would have liked from 1 to 8. But I will not do that. However, there are 2 ayats that I have to mention, actions with regards to God that I need to mention. One is ayah number 1 that I will discuss. The other is ayah number 4. And then we jump straight to the entire incident of Ashab Kahf. Remaining 8, 9 lectures, then we will focus on that. If you have a look at, and I put it over here. Okay. Alhamdulillah alladhi anzala ala abdihi al-kitab wa lam yaj'alhu iwaja. And all praises to Allah subhanahu. And I believe, and I should recommend you that you read this. ना कि सिर्फ आपको समझ में आए, लेकिन जो है वो तिलावत का सवाब भी आपको मिले. कल हम जो हमने बयान किया था. Alhamdulillah alladhi anzala ala abdihi al-kitab wa lam yaj'alhu iwaja. And all praise is for Allah who revealed the book upon his servant and did not make in it any crookedness. If you notice that ala abdihi, I've put it into black because that's what I want to highlight. Quran says the very first verse, he's revealing it to his prophet after 40 days of minnat, razun niyaz and giryozari. Still my Habib, he's still that is be to Allah who revealed the book. Allah, nothing crooked in it. It's simple, straightforward, mustaqim, and it is very strong in its dalail. You need to focus in terms of ala abdihi, on his abd. See, the entire reason that you and I are in this world is, let's get this very clear, and especially you guys, yeah. We are not in this world to earn money. We are not in this world to strike it big in life. We are not in this world to have a good, easy life. We are not in this world to have a maqam. We are not in this world to become some sort of a professional. We are not in this world to achieve success in this world. In this world, Allah says, I have sent you for only one purpose. In Surah, we have sent you in this world so that in the time that we have ordained for you, at times there will be 15 days that you are in this world. At times you will be there for 85 years. But for whatever period you are in this world and taklif and responsibility comes upon you, you have to fulfill it. We might keep you with a hungry stomach, you have to fulfill it. We will give you so much, you don't know how to calculate your money. You have to live that life. This is the fundamental crux. This is where we lose 24 hours. Our hum and gham is, how do we expand our business? Our hum and gham is, what do we do to have a good life? God says, this is not the purpose that we've sent you. We have sent you liya'budun. Ya'budun comes from the word abd, so that you become our obedient servant. That's it. You may be a billionaire, you still have to put your head down in front of me. You may be a hungry person, homeless, you still have to put your head down before me. This is why I have sent you. All the other maqam is of the akhirat that we will give you. You cannot get anything in this world. And that is the reason this laqab of Al-Abd was the most beloved to the Holy Prophet. I want to be an abd. Riwayat tells us one day Jibreel came with a set of keys. Ya Rasulullah, the sword just to get up. With the help of his knees, one hand on the ground, one hand on the sword. He tries once, he tries twice, he fails, he falls down on his face. He says, I can't get up. Now he turns into the state of sajda. In the state of sajda, the riwayat tells us the closest position a man is to God is in the state of sajda. There in that state, he says, I know I am dying, but still, ridam bi qada'ik. मेरे तमाम जो है वो मुझे पता है कि मेरे बाद क्या होने वाला है, अहले हरम के साथ क्या होने वाला है, पर फिर भी रिदम बिक़दाइक ला माबूद सिवाक, ए परवरदिगार इस अब्द के लिए तेरे जैसा माबूद और कोई नहीं. When this ubudiyat takes place, and I keep saying this, when this kind of ubudiyat God sees that a person is so an abd of mine, then he says, you put your head down and die, I will make sure you're remembered up to the day of judgment. और इस तरह मैं तुम्हारी याद बर्पा करूंगा कि कायनात में कोई मकाम पर इतना तजम्मु ना हो जितना हुसैन तेरे मकबरे पर होगा. Tell me where in the world today 21 million people gather together. Tell me one place. Even Vatican does not have that kind of a gathering. It's one of a kind. और खुदा कहता है इस तरह करूंगा कि वाजिब भी ना हो तो भी लोग आएंगे. हज इट्स वाजिब, यू हैव टू गो, ना जाओ तो फिर फटके पड़ेंगे, लेकिन हम तुम्हारी मोहब्बत इस तरह तुम्हारा बोलबाला करेंगे कि वाजिब ना होते हुए लोग पैसा खर्च करके तुम्हारा. This is what is there ala abdihi. So this is one point to understand. Or this month of Ramadan is primarily for being the ubudiyat. देखिए आमतौर पर every time normally Allah protects us, tells us stop doing something when it is haram. Don't lie, it is haram. It's bad for you. Don't eat haram food, it's haram. Don't drink alcohol, it is haram. Don't eat pork, it is haram. The ubudiyah that he wants to test in this month is, he says, no, I'm not stopping you from haram. I want your ubudiyat and subservience and submissiveness and obedience to the level that even things that are halal, I will make haram, you have to do it. खाने पीने की चीज हराम नहीं होती. Says, I'll make you haram in this month. पीने की चीज हराम नहीं होती पानी. I will make it haram in this month. I want to test your obedience in this month. All the other months, I will stop you from eating things which are haram. In this month, I want your obedience so much that even things which are permissible, I will stop and you have to do it. ये पूरा मकसद माह-ए-रमज़ान का ये है. We have to show our ubudiyat, even things which are permissible. We say, Sami'ana wa ata'na. You have told us, we will accept it. We will not eat. We will not drink. Even if it is water, that is permissible. This is ala abdihi. Having understood that, somehow over here the ayats have got وَيُنذِرُ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا اتَّخَذَ اللَّهُ وَلَدًا. For some reason, I think we might have to work with the media team to make sure that when it comes up, it's not this way. But this is ayah number 4. If you've got your Quran, you can take it out yourself. It says, وَيُنذِرُ الَّذِينَ. Allah, by means of the Quran, and this is again a very important fact before we can move to the actual tafsir. Allah says, by means of this Quran, because He's revealed in the beginning, ayah number 1, we've revealed this book upon our abd. What does this book do? وَيُنذِرَ الَّذِينَ. It warns those who say, قَالُوا اتَّخَذَ اللَّهُ وَلَدًا, and warn those who says Allah has taken a son. अब जो इसको समझने के लिए, I just want to take you back to the Arabian Peninsula. When Islam came, Islam had a short circuit with regards to certain ideologies. So we mentioned when it came across 3 kinds of categories of rulings. One, it says I will accept it. One, it says I will reject it. One, it says I will accept it with modification. We gave you the example. Certain things, when he says I will reject it, he had a very short fuse for it. He says there is no way over my dead body, in our colloquial language, I will accept this. There were 2 main ideologies at that time that Islam says I will not accept it. One was shirk. Shirk, Allah says, there's no way I can accept shirk. Associating partners to me, हमारे साथ मुसावी किसी को करार दे देना, ये काबिल तहम्मुल नहीं है. This is absolutely unacceptable. This should be thrown out of the window. And that is why you got that verse. So, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَغْفِرُ أَن يُشْرَكَ بِهِ. कि Allah जो है can forgive every sin. Shirk, He will not forgive. If you die with shirk, you means general public. If you die with shirk, there is no forgiveness. All the other sins, murder, can be forgiven. Zina can be forgiven. Ye kam can be forgiven. Shirk, out of the window. There's no way it can be forgiven. So one was shirk, and that is one of the reasons mushrikeen ke liye Khuda Parwardigar Alam ne koi leeway nahi rakha. He says mushrikeen has, shirk has no base. Idolatry and polytheism has no base. हम मुशरिकीन को कबूल नहीं करेंगे. अहले किताब को I can still accept it. यहूदियों को I can still accept it. Christians I can still accept because they've got a base. तौरात है, इंजील है, it's come from us. Yes, तारीफ हो चुका, खुराफात वारिद हो चुके, understandable, but it has its base in us. We can accept. And that is why you find the Maraji all saying, मुशरिकीन najis, अहले किताब अता है. Why? Exactly for this reason. Islam says, अहले किताब we can accept. They are kafir. Understand it. But because they've got a base that has some origin with us, we can accept them. Other than these, mushrikeen we cannot accept. So the first concept that Islam actually had a fight with was shirk. We can't accept shirk. And the second is this one. وَيُنذِرُ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا اتَّخَذَ اللَّهُ وَلَدًا. And Quran warns those people who say Allah has taken a son. The second ideology that Islam came face to face on the first day when the Holy Prophet says, قُولُوا لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ تُفْلِحُوا. Say La ilaha illallah, there is no God except Allah, and you will be successful. The second ideology that was prevalent at that time was in the minds of the people of Hijaz with respect to family relationships of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So amongst the Quraysh, amongst the Hijaz, and the people of Taif, people of the Arabian Peninsula, there was this belief that the angels were the daughters of God. उनमें एक नजरिया था कि मलाइका जो है ना वो परवरदिगार आलम के बेटियां हैं, daughters. So there were two categories of entities that they were not able to see. One was angels and one was jinn. And because they couldn't see them and they couldn't see God, they automatically assumed that these two are part of that same entity of God and have some relationship. So over the course of time, Khurafat stepped in and they said, angels we can't see, God we can't see, jinn we can't see. So they must be part of the same familial setup. So slowly with time, they began to believe angels are the daughters of God. Jinn, they divided into two. It says jinns, some of them are married to God, and some of the jinns are the daughters of God. Yani tamam feminine gender ko jo hai, they attributed to God. At this point of time, when you say God has a daughter, angels, God has spouses, which is jinn, God has another set of daughters with a jinn. You read through the entire Quran. Abhi jo hai Mah-e-Ramazan hai, aap log tilawat farmate hain, inshallah. You have a look at the translation. In the entire Quran, you will find probably 2 or 3 instances when you can actually sense the ghadab of God. Allah ka ghazab jo hai na. देखिए सूरह वाक़या में, सूरह जो है वो सूरह तौबा में, you will find numerous occasions when Allah talks about Jahannam, wa shajarat al-zaqum, wa muli'at al-butun, wa fulan, ye ma'in hamim hai, aur ye hai, aur azab hai, aur falan hai. But usme jo hai wo Khuda ka ghazab nazar nahi aata. It's a statement. God is saying, look, this is there, this is there, this is there, this is going to happen. It's a statement. He's telling us what is there. But there are 2 or 3 places in the Quran you can actually sense the ghadab of God, the wrath of God. Khuda ka gussa, Khuda ki fury. One of the occasions is this. It says, Quran ko humne nazil kiya khabardar karne ke liye those people who say God has taken a son. In Surah Maryam, Surah number 19. Surah Maryam mein, this is one instance where you can see the anger of God. In Surah Maryam, verse number 88. Verse number 88 to 92. 88 to 92, go home and read it. Surah Maryam, Surah number 19, verse number 88 to 92. I'm reading it out here. There's one slide probably I've put over here. उसमें परवरदिगार आलम का गजब जो है ना इस कज़िये पर कि आप you are attributing daughters to me. Look how it says in Surah Maryam. It says Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. इसमें जो है वो passing reference हुआ है. Surah Maryam में he actually says what they say and then he manifests his anger. Listen to this. He says, وَقَالُوا اتَّخَذَ الرَّحْمَنُ وَلَدًا. And these people are saying that Allah has taken sons for himself, daughters for himself, familial ties for himself. Then he says, لَقَدْ جِئْتُمْ شَيْئًا أَدَّى. That's a very abominable thing that you stated. बहुत ही पस्त चीज तुमने बयान की, बहुत ही संगीन चीज तुमने बयान की. Then he says, you know what? Yes. He says, تَكَادُ السَّمَاوَاتُ يَتَفَطَّرْنَ مِنْهُ وَتَنْشَقُّ الْأَرْضُ وَتَخِرُّ الْجِبَالُ هَدًّا. He says, ये बात जो तुम कह रहे हो ना कि हमारे पास लड़कियां हैं, हमारे पास बेटी है, हमने जो है वो फर्जंद को इख्तियार किया है. These words are so grave that my anger, if it were to come out, تَكَادُ السَّمَاوَاتُ يَتَفَطَّرْنَ مِنْهُ. These words are so great that if I were to release my anger, the skies would split apart. وَتَنْشَقُّ الْأَرْض. The earth would just split asunder. وَتَخِرُّ الْجِبَالُ هَدًّا. And the mountains of this world of yours will fall down, become pieces, and we would make them fly away. This is so abominable to us. It's just that we are controlling our anger and not letting it come out. If we were to let our anger go, the entire world would end into chaos because of the wrath that is emanating from us because of the abomination of what you're saying, ladies and sons to me. Then he goes ahead in this. He says, what are you talking about? And Rahmani walada. You claim God has children. Wallahul banat wallakumul banun. Kaise tum baat kar rahe ho? Khud ke liye jo hai wo, you're keeping boys for yourself. Girls come, you kill them. You put them into the grave. You don't want girls, you want boys, and the girls you want to attribute it to God. And you say the ladies are for God and the males are for me. It says everybody in this universe is our abd. They are our servant. We are the creators. I don't need a wife. I don't need a partner. I don't need anybody. And to sort out this issue, the two concepts of idolatry and shirk, and to remove the concept that God is familial ties, he comes out with Surah Tawheed. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Tell them God is one. Allahu Samad. He doesn't need anybody to take care of him. He doesn't need anybody to take care of him and cook food for him, take out his clothes. He doesn't need a wife. He doesn't need a daughter. He doesn't need anybody because he's a Samad. Samad means somebody who's not dependent on anybody, magar har shay us par dependent hai. This is the meaning of Samad. वो किसी चीज पर डिपेंडेंट नहीं है, हर चीज उसके ऊपर डिपेंडेंट है. He doesn't need light, he doesn't need darkness, he doesn't need food, he doesn't need oxygen, he doesn't need water, he doesn't need a wife, he doesn't need children. This entity is called as-Samad. Allahu Samad. The entire world of existence is dependent upon him. He does not depend on anything. Lam yalid, he doesn't give birth. Walam yulad, nor has somebody given him birth. No familial ties at all. Walam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. There is no partner to him. Polytheism out of the window, idolatry out of the window, sons out of the window, daughters out of the window. Qul huwallahu ahad. आप समझ रहे हैं? ये ऐसे ही नहीं, कभी आप एनालाइज करिए. आप कुछ हदीसें जब आप सुनते हैं ना, तो आपका वजीफा बनता है, डोंट बी स्पून फेड बाबा जान. यू आर एजुकेटेड पीपल. वो पुराना जमाना चलेगा इंडियन सब कॉन्टिनेंट का. When you hear something, analyze. Why is it that this surah is so important that it is said, सोने से पहले 3 मरतबा पढ़ के सोया करो. 3 मरतबा के सूरह तौहीद पढ़ेगा तो इतना सवाब मिलेगा जैसे तिलावत कुरान, पूरी कुरान का तिलावत. कभी सोचो क्या मतलब है? This is the reason. One surah negates all negative attributes given to God. God says, इतना मुहिम ये सूरह है हमारी नजर में कि 3 मरतबा पढ़ो, यानी इस तरह के तमाम कुरान को तुमने पढ़ लिया, क्योंकि हमारी तमाम सिफात जो जात हमें मुनाज़ा कर देती है तमाम कुरान में है. 3 मरतबा पढ़ो, हम तुमको पूरे कुरान का सवाब दे देंगे. There is a reason for everything. There is no ad hoc stuff in the realms of God. There is no ad hoc stuff. So we're coming now to the actual discussion on Surah Kahf. But again, we told in the beginning, the way the majalis goes of Muharram is different. The way the majalis goes of Ashra Zainabi are different. The way the lectures of Mah-e-Ramazan goes different. वहां जो है वो वाह वाह के नुकात बहुत होते हैं क्योंकि जोश करना पड़ता है, मौका ऐसा है जो है वो पैशन होना चाहिए. But over here there are things that you need to learn. और कुरान ऐसी चीज है, आपको पता है ना, वो नुक्ते बा का, वो तफसीर नुक्ते बा में जो है वो इतना तफसीर मौला ने किया कि 7 camels filled with tafsir and the ba tafsir was not finished. This is Quran. And I said from the very beginning, inna lil Quran batnun. Quran ke paas has a batin. Well, a batnihi batnun. And that batin is another batin. Till 7 batins. So we need to discuss a little more. When we come to Surah Kahf, when we go back to the first verse, before even going attempting, now we come to ayah number 9, where you actually start Surah Kahf. But before I go to that, I want to explain something. See, till you don't understand the importance, it is a fitrat of man, not fault of you or me. Till we don't understand the importance of certain thing, man by fitrat will not be exhorted towards it. This is the reason Quran says, Laylatul Qadr khayrum min alfi shahr. This Laylatul Qadr is better than 1,000 months. What was the need for God to say this? But he wanted us to use this Laylatul Qadr. Till he would not tell us, iske fayde kya hai, nobody would come. If you didn't know it as having so much fayda, would you come there? आज शबे जुमा में कितने लोग आते हैं मुझे बताइए. आमतौर पर जो है वो दुआ तवस्सुल on Tuesday. How many people come? But why do you have the whole mosque in Laylatul Qadr? Oh, Laylatul Qadr. The whole destiny is decided. You get whatever you want. You change the dunya. You change your akhirat. Khairum minal. जब इतने जो है वो फजाइल होते, then man is motivated. Then the whole mosque is full. Same carrot and stick policy. Over here, before I start into Surah Kahf, or rather into the actual incident of Kahf, it is important that you need to know. When did we start, Baqar? Sorry? We start 10 past 9. Okay, we got another 5-10 minutes. Okay. Before we start, it is important to understand that why did Allah give so much importance to the surah? You remember the first lecture I mentioned? That normally when the surahs would come, Jibreel would come down and pass it on to the Prophet. But over here, when the surah was coming, the Prophet is seeing 70,000 angels as an entourage bringing up the Surah Kahf. 70,000 angels. The 70,000 is a ajib figure, huh? Because this is the same figure that Riwayat tell us when Hazrat Zahra is entering Mahshar, there'll be 70,000 who are in front, 70,000 angels on the left side and right hand side, and 70,000 behind. The 70,000 is an amazing figure. Even that Baytul Mamur we were talking, 70,000 angels come to the ziyarat and go away. It's a specific figure that God has set up a nizam on it. Anyway, that's a different issue. Yeah, Ashab Kahf ke silsile mein, you know there are three incidences in it, yes? We just mentioned. One is about Ashab Kahf. One is about Musa and Hadrat Khidr alayhim as-salam. And third is about Dhul Qarnayn. What I want you to reflect on is this, that you got 3 major stories in this. And I said on the very first day, none of these stories are repeated in any other surah. No surah talks about Khidr alayhi salam. No surah talks about Dhul Qarnayn directly. This is the only surah. So this surah is unique that it has got a unique story of Ashab Kahf, unique story of Dhul Qarnayn, unique story of Hadrat Khidr and Musa. I want to ask you and just reflect. These Ashab Kahf, Riwayat tell us, had such a maqam that first of all, God liked something about them, and we will discuss this. We got a few nights to come. We will break them up entirely. God liked something about them so much that he picked up that instance and put it into the Quran. Now reflect this here. When something is picked up and put into the Quran, there is a reason. Reason is God wants this particular incident to be remembered up to the day of judgment. यानी सोचिए मकाम इस दास्तान का परवरदिगार आलम की निगाह में इस तरह है कि he says I want this incident to be remembered up to the day of judgment. Let me put it in perspective. In Surah Dahr, जब वो वाक़या होता है कि जो है वो अहले बैत रोज़ा रखते हैं and 3 times जो है वो मिस्कीन असीर और यतीम आते and then they give him. Allah says ये मुझे इतना पसंद आया, the khulus that you had was so much, I will pick it up, put it into the Quran. Every person who opens the Quran reads it up to the day of judgment. Your khulus needs to be informed to the people. It was not an ordinary act of charity. Your children were hungry, yet you sacrificed their goodness for my happiness. This is unparalleled. This has to come into the Quran up to the day of judgment. Surah Dahar ka waqia aya qayamat tak, ashab kahf ka waqia aya qayamat tak. And it is something in this dastan that Allah likes so much. So I'm going to put it into my book, a book which is a mu'jiza. That's point number one. Point number two, these ashab kahf, in this surah, you mentioned three instances, three incidents. All of them unique in this surah. No other place. But Allah chose the instance of Ashab Kahf to give the name of the surah, Suratul Kahf. You could have named it Suratul Khidr. You could have named it Suratul Dhul Qarnayn. He named it as Suratul Kahf. When you have three instances which are unique in the surah, what is it that made God give preference to Suratul Kahf? These Ashab Kahf were not even ma'soom. You had two ma'sooms in the next story. The third person, Dhul-Qarnayn, there is a difference of opinion amongst the ulama. Some say he was a ma'soom. The three ma'soom, upon the assumption that Dhul-Qarnayn was a ma'soom and Nabi, he leaves those three and he picks up non-ma'soom to name the entire surah on their name. कुछ तो वजह होगी, वो वजह इंशाल्लाह आएंगे आइंदा रातों में, but I'm giving you a पस मंजर बयान कर रहा हूं आपके सामने. And third thing, Riwayat tell us two instances. I might not read the second instance, but एक instance बयान करके इंशाल्लाह कल तक छोड़ेंगे. ये असहाब कहफ जो अफराद थे ना, एक ऐसी खुसूसियत थी इनमें, एक ऐसा मरहला था. They were in such a situation that if you want to compare it, it is similar to the 313 people that we talk about when Imam Zamana comes. But don't jump into conclusions. Give me time to present. We've got a few nights. But Riwayat tell us one thing certainly. You know, one of our aqaid, one of our beliefs, it's a very fundamental belief. And so fundamental that the 6th Imam said, "Laysa minna man ankara thalatha." The teen cheese, whoever rejects these three things is not from amongst us. One. And there are 2-3 different categories of it. Says, who rejects the shafa'at, he's not from us. One who rejects the concept of shafa'at, he is not from us. One who rejects al-musa'alatu fil qabr, the questioning of munkar and nakir in the grave, if someone doesn't believe, he is not from us. Yes? These two things, he says, is not there. And the third, he says, ar-raj'at. Somebody rejects the concept of raj'at, he's not from amongst us. لَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ أَنْكَرَ الثَّلَاثَ. ये तीन चीज जो इनकार कर दिया, वो गोया हम में से नहीं है. हम उनके इमाम नहीं, वो किसी और के इमाम मामूम बन सकते हैं. हम उनके इमाम नहीं हैं. यानी these three concepts are the fundamental in the eyes of Masoom. Rajat के बारे में तो everybody knows. A time will come just before the passing away and the shahadat of Imam Zamana, when certain individuals whose iman has been perfected will be asked to come back. Lutfan wa minnatan min Allah. तुमने दुनिया में हमारी इतनी इताअत की और हमारे नुमाइंदगान की इतनी इताअत की, we want to grace you in this world, forget about akhirat, that is afterwards. And that sharaf that we want to give you is we want to bring you back into the time of that individual who upon our orders is the last hujjat to establish our law upon the earth. So now we've got Riwayat. Riwayat says there's certain people, numerous riwayat that give people who are coming back. I'm picking up one riwayat. Says the 6th Imam is saying, I can see from behind Kufa, that means in the region of Najaf. Najaf means Wadi Salam. So I'm looking at regions behind Najaf. Certain group will come back to join our Qaim. Then he names it. 15 people whose iman were perfected from the qawm of Hazrat Musa. 15 people. So after that, Mu'mina al Fir'aun, that person who saved the life of Musa. Then it is said, Salman, Miqdad, Abu Dhar, Abu Darjana, and 7 and 8 people. Let's forget the numbers right now. And the Ashab Kahf. These ashab-e-kahf are the people specifically named by a masoom that they will be brought back to life to join the army of Imam and be graced with that Medina Fadala, that utopia. That every time dua iftitah, في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله وتذل بها النفاق وأهله. That final government of Imam for whom Hadrat Ibrahim used to pray, Allah make us from that ummah of Medina Fadala, that Dawlat Karima of Imam Zamana. Anbiya used to cry to God, make us part of that. क्योंकि उसमें जो शरफ परवरदिगार आलम अपने मोमिनीन को देगा वो कहीं दुनिया में नजर नहीं आया और कभी आ नहीं सकता. People would crave. Ashab-e-Kahf have a rank where it is said are the likes of Salman and Abu Dhar, Miqdad and Ammar Yasir and Maliki Ashtar. Along with that, these will be the individuals who will brought back to life. You are so good in our eyes. Not only we will mention your name into the Quran, up to the day of judgment, people will hear about you and read about you. Not only that, we will name the entire surah after you. Not only that, out of the 3 unique instances that I put into the Quran, yours will be the first instance, and you are so close to us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that when our final hujjat comes to establish our law upon the earth, you will be part of their global revolution. ये है असहाब कहफ, ये है पस मंजर इन अफराद का कि जिनके जरिए से हम कुछ जानते नहीं हैं, मगर शवाहिद और कराइन we see in the Quran and the riwayat that tell us amazing things. There is one instance I wanted to say, there's no time, but I'll recite it tomorrow. These individuals became one of the reasons. Understand this. These individuals became one of the factors in proving the haqqaniyat of the vilayat of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Not just the haqqaniyat of the haqqaniyat of the vilayat bila fasliyat of Ali ibn Abi Talib after the Holy Prophet. एक ऐसा वाकया हुआ रसूल खुदा की हयात में. रसूल खुदा जिंदा है. He is alive. Amirul Mu'mineen is there. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8. कल सबके नाम आएंगे. All of them are there. And Hazrat and the Prophet is utilizing the Ashab Kahf to prove the bila fasliyat of Ali ibn Abi Talib. वो क्या वाकया था? अजीब वाकया आज बयान नहीं होगा, लेकिन उसका पस मंजर ऐसे हुआ कि जिस शख्स ने उसका इनकार किया, दुनिया में भी जो है वो खुदा के सामने अजाब देखा, लोगों ने देखा. मरने के बाद जो होगा वो अल्लाह. क्या वाकया था इंशाल्लाह हम कल देखेंगे. अजीब और गरीब वाकया, मोजिज़नुमा वाकया, मगर शफाअतन so clearly shows the bila fasliyat of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Inshallah tomorrow. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. غفر الله لنا ولكم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا نبي الله، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا حسين الشهيد، السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان، الأمان الأمان الأمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك أمام الإنس والجان. أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسحل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك ورحمة الله وبركاته.